Welcome to Abstractly African, where culture is a compass, ancestry is a resource, and transformation is a shared practice. This week, we return to the wisdom of the mental body, the space where we interact with our Ori, our future self, and the forces of nature that exist to shape our path here on earth. Now, I want to really shape out what the mental body means in an abstract Yoruba context. If we think of the body as a mason jar, we are filled then with a number of things. If our body is a container for life experiences, then certainly we go through life carrying certain memories, right? So if we have the capacity to carry time in our bodies, then the mental space where we hold our memories and our perception of reality is likely to be influenced by outside forces and language and narratives that are often projected onto us and onto our experiences. The mental body and the Ori share a special relationship. When we talked about our spiritual body being the space where our Ashe resides, our creative life force energy, the mental body is where you develop a close relationship with the Orisha that guides your life destiny. Your Ori, your inner head, and your guiding Ori, which means head, your guiding head, is the Orisha that you journey through life with. As you all know, I am Omo Oshun. That means that my Ori is Oshun. It's interesting when I think about the relationship of our life perception to reality. That when we have our thoughts and feelings, they are reflected as a mirror out into the world. So when we experience projection, right? Projection is what happens when something is going on inside, but we believe that the cause of those things is outside of us. An example of projection might be if deep down you feel guilty about something that maybe you did a long time ago that you didn't think would matter, right? And then maybe years later, something happens that starts to bring this thing that you never thought anyone would know about to light. Maybe you start to feel threatened. So projection is what happens when you start to respond because of something internally to external things that trigger you. So maybe if you're feeling guilty deep down, what you project is a sense of paranoia. And the people around you start to look like they might expose you. But in reality, you're projecting. You're projecting from a place of guilt. Where the Ori comes into our understanding of our self-perception and reality is that time with the Ori really is sacred. If you are initiated into Ifa, you've probably received your Orisha pot, or at least your hand of Ifa. In developing a close relationship with your Ori, you speak to them daily, right? So when I am filtering my thoughts and taking time to understand what do I think about myself in this present moment and time, something that I'm doing as I appeal to Oshun is asking her to provide mental clarity. In this life that we have in the material realm, where we can see each other, where we can see, right, physical things, the energy that animates life, that moves all around us, is something that we cannot see, but we know influences us. That might sound like God in another context, but within Yoruba cosmology, the energy animating life forces and the energy that we do not see is all encompassing. So that means each of us has an experience that we interact with through our own filter, and then we kind of compare that to reality, which is the energy and movement of all there is. Here's where it gets really interesting. In Yoruba cosmology, you journey through life with your Ori, but you also have a spiritual family that can influence your experience throughout your life. The Egbe Orun, your spiritual mates, your cosmic counterparts, oh, they are your spiritual family that exist in the spaces and time that you've also existed in. Trippy, but it's really simple if you think about it, because the mental body really houses experiences, right? Memory and all that from not just your lifetime, but lifetimes before, right? We went over this when we talked about spiritual memory. Well, in the context of your mental body and even mental health, you might experience your Egbe Orun attempt to interact with you in ways that can be shocking, in ways that can be supportive, and in ways that really either kind of knock you off your feet or bring you back into a place of groundedness. Whether you are at either extreme, right? Whether your spiritual family is knocking you off your feet or building you up, is determined by your perception and understanding of your life destiny. Here's where we move into regenerative thinking, right? All thinking about perception. So I love this expression, as above, so below, because it reflects the concept of our lives as a mirror of our internal world that we project outwardly. When I think of the spiritual family, the Egbe Orun, oftentimes we here on earth and in the material realm, in the realm where we interact with things that we can see, we feel disconnected, right? Oftentimes we can feel disconnected from reality, where the things that we want to happen just are not coming through. The decisions we're making seem to put us like 10 steps backward. Or truthfully, sometimes in life, right, when it comes to decision making or our reality and perception being skewed, it all starts with some trauma where we disconnect from the grounded mental space where we feel safe, understood, and confident. And we experience something that really rocks us, either as children, as adults, right? We experience trauma at any age, and then it creates a split in our perception of reality. Things that once maybe had no association, now we resonate with them because of our experience and perception from a place of anger, sadness, fear, resentment, or disillusionment. So this separation from our space of safety into this new perception where things have a different color and perception because of trauma I want to compare this with our spiritual separation from our Egbe Orun and the Great Maafa, our literal separation as Black diasporic people, as Africans from our motherland. So let's start with the spiritual separation from our Egbe Orun. The Egbe Orun, your spiritual family, travels with you through lifetimes. In African cosmology and Yoruba culture and beliefs, our spirit reincarnates. We have an opportunity to work our destiny again and again and again through space and time. Sometimes, as we journey, as our spirit collects these experiences in space and time throughout different worlds and dimensions, we make really good friends with and develop rapport with the lifetimes and versions of ourselves that have lived before. It's like if you live in one state, you grow up there, and you have friends that you journey with from preschool to elementary to middle school to high school. That is your family, your friend family, right? Your family. In the cosmological context of Ifa and Yoruba spirituality, we experience that same movement of our spiritual family journeying with us from one phase of our spirit's life to the next in space and time. When we separate from our Egbe Orun, we have to appeal to them. What do I mean by separate, right? When we enter this world in the physical context, when our spirit is ready to come into the world from the ether of space and time, then we're here in the material. And sometimes your Egbe Orun, your spiritual family, will do whatever it can to get you back. Love is fierce, right? If you have friends that you went through preschool, then elementary school, right? And then you leave and you move to another state, those friends are like, man, how can I get this person back? I really miss them. I really miss the things we did together. Imagine your life being defined that way, that you as a mason jar of time and space, right? You as a spiritual container, as a mirror, journey through life with other beings that long after you, that desire your partnership, your companionship, because of the lives you've lived before. I mentioned the Great Maafa, which in Swahili means the great disaster, the great tragedy. Here in the material realm, in space and time, in Black diasporic space and time, we experienced the Great Maafa during the transatlantic slave trade, where our bodies, traditions, and customs were taken from Yoruba land, from the motherland, dragged in the ocean, in the sea, right? And then spread out throughout the diaspora, through different lands, through the Caribbean, right? Through the Americas. So here's where you really want to understand mental health in the context of Yoruba cosmology. Think about what happens to a people who have this beautiful spiritual reality of this cosmological relationship through time, through bloodline, through lineage, where spiritual beings are journeying with you. And then here, in the context of human history, at one point in space and time, those same people are then ripped away from their traditions ancient customs and beliefs. I am aware, yes, that some of our people were sold by other people who looked like us, right? Some of us sold each other. My point is that separation spiritually and then historically, right, is twofold, doing a number on the Black African psyche. Many scholars have discussed this. Some even use the words like, that there's words that different scholars use to describe this double relationship that we have as Black African people in our healing journey, that we're not just healing from the context of racism, right? We're not just healing from the invention of race itself. We're also healing from this separation that W.E.B. Du Bois would call the beginning of the double mind, right? So when you think about mental health from the Black African diasporic perspective, our perception of reality is twofold. It is both spiritual and metaphysical. Something really interesting I want to put like as a nugget right like that. Your Egbe Orun will do whatever it can to get you to realign to your highest destiny. You might start experiencing crazy stuff in your life if you are running from what you're supposed to do in this world, your highest calling, okay? Some people even seek out babalawos and iyanifas because they're like, I don't know what is going on in my life. I've lost my job. My children won't speak to me, all this, that, and the other. I've lost my marriage. My finances are crumbling and I'm doing whatever I can. And the awo or the iya, right? They might do their reading and come back and tell you, you need to do X, Y, and Z to appeal to your Egbe Orun. They would give you your Ebo, right? The results of your reading telling you you have to feed your Egbe Orun. Give to the people that you experienced other lifetimes with who are longing for you, right? In the same way that your spiritual family longs to get you back to wholeness, I really believe and see in my own life and in the life of Black people from the African diaspora that it is our ashe, our internal energy, our Africanness, if you will, that wants us to come back. And come back to what, right? Come back to who you are in the beginning. A cosmic being filled with ashe and energy. Okay? So, lastly, we can use this awareness for two things. This awareness of our split perception mentally. I mentioned regenerative thinking, and it has a role in helping us move from pain to power. Regenerative thinking is a practice that includes frameworks, right, that help you examine your thoughts. What am I thinking, right? And then if you're in the emotional body, what am I feeling? So what am I thinking, right? What do I think of myself and the world around me? What do I think? Then regenerative thinking understands that your thoughts are influenced by your perception of reality, by your internal mirror, that whatever you're dealing with on the inside, all of us are doing some form of projecting, right? So to move from pain to power when it comes to your thinking, to heal self-doubt, to heal the inklings and wonderings of who you are, you use your words as tools of alignment. Ashe. Words hold power. And when you know who you are, when you rethread the mental strings back together to your Ori, back together to your spiritual family, when you begin to rethread that relationship, you heal the great disaster, the Great Maafa, the incident of transatlantic slavery. When you rethread those instances, you start by using your words. This is where a practice of regenerative thinking is based in affirmations. Sit with yourself, sit with your Ori, and begin to chart your thoughts from lower thinking into a space of regenerative thinking, filtering out the projections, narratives, and beliefs of the world, and tuning in to your own power. Thank you for being here in the world of Abstractly African, where culture is a compass, ancestry is a resource, and transformation is a shared practice. This month in January was powerful. We went through understanding the 3 bodies that make up our experience in life. The physical body as a container for the experiences of our emotional, spiritual, and mental bodies that interact with each other simultaneously. Let me know in the comments what you've learned and what you're taking with you on your journey forward. Ashe, ashe, ashe.